Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's Comic Roundtable, and this week we have back with us Jen. How's it going, Jen?
Hey guys, it's good.
We're gonna jump right in because we're kind of late this evening getting started. Or actually, no, this is probably on time here recently. I always say we're gonna start at 6:30 Pacific, and it never happens. But anyway, so we're gonna talk Marvel first. I'm still one of those people that's not reading a whole lot of Marvel, but we're gonna talk a little bit of Marvel because Jen did read at least one Marvel book this week. So we'll let you talk.
Okay then. Let's see. I've been reading Rogue and Gambit. It's a mini series. I think this is the last issue. This is the last issue. So
Right, like 4, right?
it's a fifth. It was 5 issues.
Oh, okay.
So it was a good story. At least Rogue and Gambit felt like real people for me, which I think Kelly Thompson, she does a pretty good job of writing characters. I've read her Gem, and and A-Force, and what else? Hawkeye. So I really like her as a writer, so that's why I jumped on it. Not because I really care for Rogue or Gambit that much.
And I like Rogue. I hate Gambit. That's a character that shouldn't exist as far as I'm concerned.
I don't hate them, but I just don't. My main idea of them came from the 90s cartoon. I didn't read a lot of X-Men.
Right.
It was an interesting story. They went to an island to investigate kind of what's going on. There's like a retreat for mutants to go to, I guess, to get like couples therapy. And so they go to this island. Kitty Pryde sends them there. And
so they are a couple. I mean, in this, they are definitely.
Well, they were not at the beginning. They're pretending to be a couple.
Okay.
So they're going as a couple to figure out what's going on because mutants are going missing, I guess.
Okay.
So they're trying to, find out what's up with the missing mutants, and so they have to go and like pretend to be a couple, and they go to the couples therapy sessions and all that kind of stuff, and they're kind of working through some of their past issues and such. And then during the day, and then at night, they like go exploring throughout the compound to kind of figure out what's going on there. And the bad guy in this has a power where she can like extract the powers and memories from people or from the mutants and stuff, so she can use their powers for her own. And she puts them into like these golem-like dolls that become. So you've got one that's like in the old-fashioned Rogue costume, like all torn up and everything. And I don't know, there was a lot of stuff I could tell. There were throwbacks to older runs of the comic, which was really cool if I had read them. I'm sure people who enjoy Rogue and Gambit in those past stories probably liked it. And as they lose their powers and stuff, they get weaker. That's the weird thing. Like, they lose almost all their powers and everything. They're so weak. And then all of a sudden, they're kicking the butt of the memory golems that have, like, their powers. And that didn't really go over too well for me. It didn't make a lot of sense. And then there's a cute part in it where Gambit and Rogue, like, get opposite powers. She gets his energy power, and he's got Rogue's strength, because if you destroy the golem, the power went into you. And then, so, I mean, eventually Rogue and Gambit resolved this with the baddie, and it looks like they're a couple now. So,
boo.
Next wedding, right here. Rogue and Gambit.
I suppose, ooh. Like I said, I like Rogue. Rogue's some of my favorite mutants, but I don't like Gambit, so whatever.
It was a well-written comic, but there's no major depth to it or anything. It was just like a fun adventure type comic.
And for a miniseries, that's not a bad thing. For it just to be kind of not supposed to change the universe in a miniseries, I wouldn't think so.
No, it was fun, and it was nice to at least have people who have a relationship. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Seems how they seem to be so set on superheroes not having any kind of a real relationship beyond being a superhero, which kind of stinks. So, yeah, for sure.
And that's it for me for Marvel.
Like I said, I don't have any. Marvel news wise, the only thing I know of at the top of my head is that they've announced that they are for sure going to put Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe right after they do the Captain Marvel movie. So they want to get Captain Marvel out there and established, and then do that.
News for me. I would love to see.
Well, I just think it's awesome all the way around. It's going to be, it's going to be fun in that also in a sadistic, I hate myself kind of way, because of course that will put that character once again in the bright spotlights, kind of like when the character comic first started, except now at a movie level, here is a young, Muslim American, a young woman, being a superhero, clearly of Pakistani, descent. So it's going to be. I just think you're going to get the whole backlash of the people
that's such a back noise for me now. I just buy and read what I want and watch what I want, and there you go. That's what everyone should do.
Yep. Well, I'm excited for it because I think it's awesome, because that just puts that much more representation out there and whatnot. And, I hope they find some unknown, great young actress to play that part, because she clearly needs to be a teen, or somebody who's young enough to be able to reasonably play, a teen. And I look forward to the ensemble. The rest of the people that are around her are so much part of the comic book. It's not just about her, it's about her and how she deals with the people around her. All that's going to be.
And I think it will be a good learning experience for a lot of people too, I think, maybe humanizing. I hope, to have a hero who is, Muslim. So I'm all for it. I'm excited.
Yep. A lot of it also, what kind of movie gets can depend on who they hire to do the movie, right? If they hire somebody that doesn't want to take on what I think are some of the important things about the comic book, it's going to completely change the way that character is. She can't just superficially be. I guess she could, but it'd be unfortunate if they just, if they just find a brown-skinned person, young woman, and then just run your standard superhero story. I think it's going to miss some of the charm of and interest of that book if they do that with a movie. So chances are it'll be one of those movies that I show up on opening night to watch, and I don't do that with many movies. So
yep.
I don't know of any other Marvel news. I haven't heard any real announcements or any new introductions. Was this opening week of Deadpool, or is that next week?
I don't know. I know it's.
I can't remember. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the first one yet. So.
Really?
Oh, I despise Deadpool.
My daughter loves Deadpool, so.
I'm sorry.
Get dragged to the movies. No, it wasn't bad. It was actually a pretty good movie. So hopefully.
That's what I hear. But like I said, I despise that character, so it's not something. It's next week.
Yeah.
Young Fred is in the comments, and he tells us it's next week. So, alrighty. Well, I can't think of any other Marvel-y type news, so let's just kind of roll on to talk some DC books.
Okay.
I
got Batman.
So, issue number 46 of Batman, the second in the Gift storyline, with this kind of now alternate reality, because Booster Gold has changed the timeline, saved Batman's family. So the Waynes are just the Waynes, and
Yeah.
Gotham is a cesspool. And what Dick Grayson is Batman, and Batman just kills people. There's some Joker infestation in Gotham that the heroes keep getting turned into Joker monsters. So Batman kills the heroes as fast as he kills the villains to get them from becoming Jokerized, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we hated, or I don't know if you hated. We really did not like the last issue.
The good part was Hal coughing himself, but
Right.
they should have that like at the beginning of every issue.
So what did you think of 46? An improvement?
I hated it.
Yeah.
It was awful. I didn't understand, why is it that Catwoman can only meow most of the time? It just really, I don't know, everything about it irritated me. It irritates me that the Waynes are the way they are because they were so philanthropic and stuff in my memory of them that they wouldn't be the way that they are. And I can't imagine Bruce growing up to be that way. Everything about it feels wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually like this issue more than the last issue. I actually laughed through this issue because it was ridiculous. I mean, I guess that's what it is. I just, I just fully feel like at some point they're going to fix this whole thing and none of it's going to matter. So I'm just rolling with it now.
It's just like a Superman plant or whatever. It's not a real reality. It can't be.
Yeah. I'm assuming that Catwoman just meows because she's insane. I mean, they broke her out of Arkham and she is nuts. I'm assuming. I actually liked Booster Gold in this issue just because he's neurotic too. I mean, it's been a year. The planet's been screwed up for a year, and so he's just kind of a mess, a doubting mess. And I have to admit, I like his conversations with Catwoman where he just rattles off a bunch of stuff. He's having both sides of the conversation, and he acts like he understands what she says.
There were some cute moments there with Booster Gold when he was nutty, when he was just like in his ideas to get him up on the rooftop, and her in tight, Catwoman gear. That was just going to bring them right together.
Of course. Yes, and then of course the whole by the end of the book, the whole giant mess in this where Batman basically kills the Wayne family. It looks like by the end of it. So I mean, I didn't hate this one as much as the last issue. This one felt like it was written better, but it's still dumb. I mean,
it doesn't make any sense, any of it. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. And we both know that it's not going to mean anything.
It better not.
So whenever we get back on track, then maybe I can start enjoying Batman again. I don't know. This story's not for me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like I said, for this whole run of Tom King's, it took me a while to warm up to his way of delivering Batman and the stories he was doing, and then the last stuff that has been coming out, I've really been enjoying, and this just kind of feels like it's throwing that off the rails. I don't hate Batman in general like I did when I first started reading the Rebirth Batman, but yeah, this is just kind of I'm throwing my money away. Kind of a deal is what it feels like. It. I look at the comments, and David is saying that he was going to set this arc out, but the new DC variants were too good. He still won't read it though, so he's just buying it for the variant covers, but he's not going to read it. That's probably smart. It keep you from being quite so irritated because, like I said, my assumption would be is this is so kooky of what's happening that it's somehow going to all get fixed and we're going to go back to the book being exactly what it was before this arc started.
Here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if because other things in the DC universe are slowing down, that this is like filler,
Well, it's yeah. It clearly feels like a side story while the important artists are working on the serious story, the wedding, that whole stuff, I think is what, definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's really good, if the wedding's really good and everything, then I'll probably forget all about this and be happy.
Oh, I won't forget about it. I'll remember it.
I'm filing it away. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
What else did you get, DC?
Let's see. I picked up Deathstroke issue number 31. I'm picking this up for the whole storyline of the, not really Deathstroke versus Batman. I don't care about that fight, to be quite honest with you. It's more just this whole flirting with the idea that Damian may not be Bruce's son and that he may be Slade's son instead. I absolutely love the relationship between Bruce and Damian that has been built up over the years since New 52 basically on. I've just absolutely loved their characterization. I mean, it's got to the point to where Damian has become my favorite Robin, just because he is a bit cantankerous and he has his own way of doing stuff and whatnot. And I enjoy all that. So I don't want anything to upset that relationship. So I'm kind of reading this out of I'm watching to make sure they don't screw anything up, like I have some sort of impact to go shame on you if they mess it up. But so I'm already coming into this a little leery. This is the second issue of this story, and I don't know. It's not very interesting. This issue is, it's Deathstroke focused, fine, because it's Deathstroke's book. That's cool. This issue, Deathstroke and his version of Alfred, who his name is Winterglove, I believe, if I remember correctly, his name is. They're flying in an airplane across the Middle East, going somewhere in particular. There's a little bit of conversation about the whole, Batman thing. They get shot down. They get shot out of the air by a surface-to-air missile, and they spend pages. They're falling. Deathstroke gives the parachute to his helper, because Deathstroke, as long as he's wearing his costume, he'll probably survive the fall because his costume absorbs energy and transfers it to something else. But he's like concerned about his sword because his sword is some great relic or whatever. I don't know. It just seems like it spends a lot of energy on him being concerned about his sword, and him finally landing, finding his sword, and fighting some people on the ground. And one of the people ends up being Talia, who by the end of the issue, they were fighting, and now they're kind of rolling around, breathing heavy on each other. And she's like, "Let me tell you about your son," by the end of it. And I'm just like, I don't care. Because everything keeps saying, I just don't see how this story is very plausible when we all know how incredibly thorough Batman is. And when Damian was first presented as possibly being his son, he did all kinds of crazy DNA tests and whatnot. Every conversation up until this point has been Damian is the son of the dragon and, the heir to the throne of the League of Assassins, but that he is also the son of the detective. Ra's al Ghul has said that. Talia said that. I don't know. So I wanted this to be more exciting. 2 issues in, and I'm kind of yawning and wondering, should I be picking up the rest of the arc? But I kind of want to see the rest of the story, but it doesn't feel very status quo moving, like it's influencing anything really. So I don't know. Not too excited about it. So I don't know. Anyway, that's that. The only other DC book I picked up was Snagglepuss. What? This is issue number 5, right? Yes. So how are you feeling about Snagglepuss? I know a lot of other people who I have been on the round table talking about this with, they've all dropped it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not like Flintstones.
Yeah, I didn't read Flintstones, so I don't know about that. But
pick it up and trade if you haven't. It
made me cry. I was like crying through this issue. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, and maybe it would read better in trade, for people. I don't know, or maybe it's just something that they're not into. I don't know, but I enjoy it.
Did the beginning of it with the Russian part though, where they're kind of talking about we get this, the very beginning, we get the Americans worried about, oh no, the Russians could have the bomb too or whatever, and we got to do something about the whole Russian scare thing. And then we kind of blip to the Russians and the whole general coming in, and they're talking about the bomb, and there's the dig at Trump, or what feels like a dig at Trump in this issue.
Oh, really?
Didn't it seem that way to you at the beginning? The leader of Russia at the time is talking to the general, and he's talking about how, we don't have to worry about America because America is ruled by a casino. Every 4 years they roll the dice to get they get a new president, and sooner or later they will elect some popular amateur, and then we press our advantage. To me, that felt very current topic.
Right. Yeah.
But that whole beginning part, I don't know. I mean, that whole beginning part with the whole Russian stuff, what does that have to do with the rest of the story?
I think it's just supposed to set up the feel of why they're so scared and why they want to get the country to unite.
Okay.
Because there's this major threat. And
okay.
Of course, we're old enough to remember a lot of this stuff. So we don't.
I'm personally not old enough to remember the 1950s and the Red Scare. Maybe you are, but I'm not.
No, but I mean.
Yes, we were alive during the 80s for the whole.
Yeah. Or at least the fallout after the Red Scare and everything.
Right.
We were alive for that. So I don't know. It's history that most of us knew. So I don't know if it necessarily needed to be there, but maybe for younger readers to get into the mindset of this times,
Okay. I guess I see that. That part of it was young Fred's in the comments saying, "What are the 80s?" So slap that man. So the beginning part was, to me, was a little, it felt out of place, but I get that if that's why they're doing it. It just seems to me like, why did you wait till issue 5 to give us that? That should have been at the beginning of this.
The mood like way earlier. Yeah.
Right. So that part of it felt a little out of place. I still like the rest of the comic, the story. It is sad. I mean, there's a character death in this issue. Pretty realistic of the era. Being queer in the 1950s would generally be a bad thing. And people live a pretty tough life now. Back then it would have been, a lot worse. And being somebody who's marginally famous and then being exposed, it would be even worse, kind of a thing. So we get that. And then by the end of this, basically Snagglepuss gets his swagger on and, starts to make a fool out of the whole live televised them. Basically, they thought they were going to dress him down and have him name names, and instead he is kind of taking it to the to the government.
Which things like this actually happen. People did name names, and with Chaplin and all that kind of
right.
So,
right.
Or figures in media and such that were targeted.
Yeah.
So it was a cool book. I liked it. I guess it's not.
I'm enjoying the story. If the biggest criticism I would have for it is, why use Snagglepuss and Huckleberry Hound? Because the difference is, now if you'd read Flintstones, which I genuinely suggest everybody go out and get the first trade of Flintstones, it is excellent because they use the characters, and they actually use the characters in a way that makes sense. In that book, the same writer takes those characters, the Stone Age family, and has them kind of address life now, and they do it in a way that the characters seem genuine, but still in their element and whatnot. Now with Snagglepuss, I love the idea of Snagglepuss being a Southern, gay playwright. That sounds perfect, but what about him in this book feels like Snagglepuss? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they say things like heavens to Murgatroyd or
I can't even
exit
remember him
stage
say.
left.
I can't even remember him saying that.
Oh yeah, well he did, but
Okay,
I mean,
once.
like not those two little sayings like exit stage left,
Yeah,
and to me that's not enough.
right.
Um, the question that I had after reading this, I'm like, this could have been anybody. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? They
mhm.
didn't necessarily need Snagglepuss to do this.
Right.
So that's the thing I didn't understand.
Right. And that's I think why, and maybe at some point, like Mike Sergeant America, he's one of the people who dropped it. He'll comment at some point possibly about it. That's why they got off the book.
Uh-huh.
It's the conversation I had. This really wasn't going where they wanted to go to, kind of deep into one storyline, whereas Flintstones every issue kind of addressed something new and all kind of tied together at the same time. This has just been really, hard and solid on one thing, really.
The only other book that I read was the Batman Elmer Fudd issue, which they
right.
really nailed the personalities of each character that they put in there, and that's what I felt. I was expecting something like that with this book, and I didn't get that.
Yeah. Well, so I'm still enjoying it. It's kind of like, but the I don't feel like, yeah, I mean, these could be anybody. I don't feel like they leveraged. It wasn't as clever as what Flintstones was.
Mhm.
So I totally get that there. I still like the book. I like reading about this era of stuff,
Yeah.
this whole thing. There's all this avenues and whatnot. But like you said, any character of the Hanna-Barbera people that are in this could be anybody. This could have just as been easily been Yogi Bear, for all practical purposes, and Huckleberry Finn, Huckleberry Hound could have been anybody. It didn't need to be these, it just didn't matter. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like one issue left. Is that right? I think so. I think it's 6 issues.
Yes. I think there's one more issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. I only had 3 DC books this week. Do you have any others?
I got this Harley book, but it was just all right. I don't really want to talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. DC news. Want to talk some DC news?
Sure.
So, Young Animals. You want to start Young Animals first?
Yeah, okay.
we'll start off with the sad stuff first. So Young Animals is going away. Young Animals is a pop-up imprint. They reminded us of that in telling us that all August issue 6 of all of these restarts of the of our 3 books of the 4 books that started when this whole thing started are ending at issue 6. So Shade the Changing Woman, Cape Carson has Interstellar Eye, and Mother Panic Gotham AD all are ending at issue 6. So yeah, it does. I mean, but now I've seen all the creators pretty much all have said, I don't know if they're just keeping on if they're just towing the company line or what, but they've all said, oh no, this was always our plan. We were always playing on.
Make a lot of sense, especially with Mother Panic, but
right. That one especially feels like there's a lot to try and take care of in 4 issues that we have left. I mean, that's the biggest book that I go, wait, what about? It just feels like there's a lot to try and take in and handle, and I think it's just gonna all. I think it's all going to get taken care of in some wild, just kind of one and done kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the bad guy in that book doesn't feel like something that you can just, punch one person and it's going to fix the whole thing, because they've set it up as kind of an insidious, have taken over, have gentrified all of Gotham. That isn't something you just, you correct by taking one person out, I wouldn't think. Right. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they, I mean, if it really was planned out that way, maybe it'll turn out all right.
So they say that Doom Patrol is going to stay around. Of course, it's so delayed that what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe the next issue is out by August, to be quite honest. As much as I love that book, the delays on it are crazy. And they implied that it will pop back up again.
Okay.
So at some point down the road, Christmas time or whatever, we may see suddenly some new Young Animal books pop up.
Yeah.
It just, with it being a pop-up imprint, it almost makes it feel like, man, you kind of robbed the best of and the kind of the ideas and the soul of Vertigo and threw it in this other imprint. And now in 2 years, you're just kind of letting it go, is what it kind of feels to me like.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because originally when the Young Animals thing first started, Shelley Bond was the editor, the lead editor that was going to help all this stuff run. And of course, she was also doing Vertigo. They made their move to California, and she was there for a very short period of time. And then they decided they didn't need a head editor and basically let her go. I don't know. Like I said, I like all the books. Shame that they're going away. Happy to hear this was the plan, because that means all these books should have planned endings, which then my expectation is they're going to land all these books well, as opposed to them just kind of suddenly coming to a stop. And I guess we'll see what happens after that as far as that goes. So
yeah.
Other news, I know at least around Twitter and whatnot, and a segment of the internet, there were lots of wild predictions coming out of that website that I will not name.
Yeah, I just ignored those this time. So
listing all this, they're gonna they're gonna do a fresh start, quote unquote, for DC, and they were naming all this crazy stuff about these kind of completely different creators, working on, books you wouldn't expect them, Kelly Sue on Green Lanterns and just all this nutty stuff and whatnot. And yesterday, Jim Lee basically come on and said, come on, guys, that website needs to shut up because they have no idea what they're talking about. None of that you're saying is going to happen. Now, maybe Jim Lee's just saying that and whatever, but I'm more inclined to take Jim Lee at his word than I am to take that website that is not to be named and what their rumor mongering stuff that they do and take that as being serious. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna wait and see until actual news comes out.
I mean, some of that stuff that was floated sounds kind of fun, but but realistically, come on. Anyway, let's see. The only other news thing that I remember is the price change. That they are dropping the $2.99 books. All the books are going to go back to $3.99. Now, I haven't seen it everywhere to know for sure. Are we going to keep getting Batman twice a month at $3.99?
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to drop down to once a month or if
because some of the titles are going to once a month and be the $3.99, which is cool. I'm cool with that. I don't know that I'm cool with still twice a month at $3.99 because it's awful hard for them to maintain a quality book at that pace. And I don't want to pay premium dollar for, if I'm not getting what I am going to be happy with. I mean, I'm okay with some of the artist change and fill-in inkers and stuff like that for a $2.99 book that I'm getting twice a month. I'm not sure I'm okay with a $4 book under the same. I say that, but right now with Batman, I would keep getting it.
I would still get Batman too.
But I don't think the other books I would. I mean, I think that would be a deal. I would think that would be a deal breaker for me for like, I'm already suspect of like Superman. That'll be a deal breaker for that. Yeah, I would continue not. I'm not going to touch it anyway because the creators that are on it. But Wonder Woman, The Flash, those are all books that they need to be cheap if I'm going to buy them. I'm not going to get them that way and whatnot. Ryan is saying in the comments, Ryan Siloni is saying that it almost certainly Batman will stay twice a month. I don't know. I don't know if it will stay twice a month after we hit the 50 mark. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. But you knew it was coming. I mean, I saw some people, commenting on the fact, oh yeah, they're not holding the line at $2.99 anymore. That was a slogan from like what, 5 or 8 years ago. I mean, if,
at least 6 years ago.
Yeah, for them to have gone this long and still have books at $2.99, kudos to them. They've got properties that they could easily be asking the same price that Marvel's asking. For the.
They're also removing the digital codes or whatever, but I never use them anyway, so that doesn't affect me.
Me neither personally, other than it was supposedly one of the selling points to it being $3.99 as we were getting there.
Right.
So, and I know other people who do. So.
Yeah.
Any other DC news? I can't think of anything else.
Else either.
Okay. Yeah, he's saying that Batman is the biggest moneymaker. He'd be truly surprised if DC made it a monthly book. Yeah, so far they've been doing okay.
Yeah, and the sales numbers are pretty high, I think. So.
Yeah, as long as they are producing the book far enough out in advance that the artist that's doing an arc can actually manage a full arc of whatever they're doing and have it done before it,
Right.
And they've been doing a pretty good job of that.
The art's been pretty good.
Yeah, that title has
for a while now. So
yeah. Alrighty. Move on to some independent books. Want to talk Shade the Changing Woman? Are you reading Shade the Changing Woman?
Yeah, I'm reading Shade.
And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking about the fact there's only 3 issues after this.
I know, right? I don't know. It changes the way you read things when you know things like that.
Right. Well, because you start looking for the clues, right? You start looking for the clues of the wind down. I mean, and I love
the art and the creativity in this book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss it a lot.
This is one of those books with the team that's on it. Cecil, how do you say her last name? Castellucci and Marley Zaccone. Andy Parks does some of the inking, helps Marley get some of the inking done, and Kelly Fitzpatrick on art. If these people like next week said that they were launching an indie book somewhere else or whatever, I would pick it up probably without even caring what the story idea was.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think they designed a really, really good book. I have really enjoyed this. And I continue to enjoy this. I like this kind of, I don't know, what do you want to call it? It's kind of a meta, kind of a transcendental crisis of identity sort of a thing. I mean, because since she's become Shade the Changing Woman, it's mostly been about her just kind of in the, I don't know.
Things out,
Right. In this issue, she pulls her heart out and spends 3 or 4 pages trying to bury it and get rid of it. And so she's not as miserable as what she was, kind of thing. So, yeah. I like the kind of wander that is, that whole, I buried my heart. I still feel all these things, but I feel it differently now. That it's not as, it feels far away. I feel like I'm underwater and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's some other, there's some quasi sinister elements in here too, because of course you've got Megan walking around in that, in that boy's body, a male version of Megan walking around trying to get back parts of her life, so she, kind of drugs and sleeps with her ex-boyfriend and who's the would-be wannabe astronaut and yeah, it's a fun book because it's just kind of, because it's oddly strange and whatnot. And then poor River, who's in college and has been signed up to this capture aliens. And of course he was kind of best friends with an alien. So has this completely different kind of And then of course there's the one alien from Meta who's working with them and is peddling madness.
Right. Yeah.
What are they calling it? Funk or something? Whatever they're, I don't know what the drug they're calling it, but yeah, I don't know. I just all kind of interesting and fun stuff. But the Megan character is kind of going around following Shade and just wrecking everything that Shade was involved in. I mean, so there's a murder at the end of it, and that sort of stuff, which is pretty awful. But
that bird beak is creepy.
yes, and murdering her with the bird beak is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I love this. I'm sad that it's leaving.
And Ryan is asking, how have you enjoyed Shade the Changing Woman compared to Changing Girl? For me, I think I liked. I like both. I think I liked Shade the Changing Girl better because it felt like there was a direction. It felt like we were. For me, I mean, I like a book that just. I mean, this book just kind of wanders, and you just kind of roll with it. Whereas the Shade the Changing Girl, it felt like we were going on a journey to something. Here I don't know what the end game is. In the other one, it was, her come to Earth, ride in this body, try to figure out how to be a human girl and deal with the baggage that was left behind from Megan, the body that she stole, and that sort of stuff. Whereas this, it's just her kind of being angsty, right?
True.
Yeah.
Introspective instead of like trying to figure things out.
Right.
So it's not as, I don't know, cohesive as the first arc was.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All righty. What other, got any books you want to talk about?
Crochet the Deathless.
Oh, how do you say that? Okay. I won't even attempt it. So, what you think?
I love this book. I want lots more of this book. Like, if you keep going and going and going, instead of, I'm hoping they have more. There's one more issue, I guess. But I just love this story. It's so, and the art is just beautiful.
Ben Steinbeck is an awesome artist. Just gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the story is just so intriguing. I just want more of this guy. So, what did you think?
Yeah, the cool thing about the way it's told in an almost fairy tale fashion, right?
I have that feeling as well.
Yeah, which makes it fun. Each issue, does tie into the issue before it, but each issue, our guy here is off doing something else. He's kind of telling. They're sitting in a bar in hell, and he's telling Hellboy, kind of, like his life story. This is how I got where I am. Kind of a thing. Why he's crying in his beer. Basically, I think both him and Hellboy are just sitting there feeling sorry for themselves, because sometimes that's what you do in a bar. And that's kind of what they're doing. So we're getting kind of his story of that, where he keeps having these encounters with Baba Yaga, and of course Baba Yaga is a pretty despicable character. I mean, she's a power hungry, she's that kind of typical fairy tale evil stepmother or evil sorceress who wants to be the most powerful. And the second she hears that somebody else might be more powerful than her, even if they're not really, just people think they are, she has to destroy them. She has to possess them. So, that's kind of how Baba Yaga is in this. And she's got control over him. And he's continuously being leveraged, into making worse decisions for himself. He just keeps digging a deeper hole, killing more people.
That really irritated me was the fact that he didn't remember everything that the dragon had done for him before. Like, it just slipped his mind that it was a dragon who saved him twice. That's the thing that didn't work for me. But everything else I loved. It was really good.
Yeah. And in this one, it's got him kind of trying to deal with the fact he's been sent out to murder a child. kind of a thing, which of course, he thinks he's got a workaround for it. And of course that, no, it doesn't, it doesn't really work out, either and whatnot. But yeah, I enjoy it for, like I said, that kind of, fairy tale, story aspect of it. And as we mentioned, the art, like I said, with Dave Stewart's colors, Ben Steinbeck art is just, is gorgeous. It's one of the big things that made me fall in love with, the Baltimore series, because when the Baltimore series, for most of it, was drawn by Ben Steinbeck. That's where I first saw him as an artist, and I just loved that look too. So I'm kind of, I had no idea what this was going to be about, really, because I did not really remember this character, prior to this, prior to this story. But knowing the creators that were on the book, I didn't really care. I was gonna, jump on board and read whatever it was. Anyway, but it's got all the kind of classic things, wait by the crossroads or wait by the bridge for the troll that protects, this spot. And then, there's a fight, that ensues around it. I mean, it's got some of the stuff that you would consider, the kind of stereotypical, aspects of it and whatnot, but done in such a way that it still makes it really enjoyable, even though some of that stuff, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that, that's kind of a, and like I said, the art's just great. Plenty of just kind of interesting whimsy and intrigue. I mean, there's like skeleton riding a bear blowing a horn, and I mean, there's lots of just really, really good stuff in it. So yeah. Other than I can't pronounce the guy's name, I enjoy it. So, let's see. Did you try, so Death and Glory, issue number 1. Did you try this book?
I did.
So Rick Remender and writing it, Bengal on art. I think this was an exercise issue. It feels heavy. I didn't actually count pages, but I know there's some ads at the back of it, but I think it is a more pages, for your money kind of a thing. And I've been pretty high on Rick Remender lately. I love Deadly Class. I love Black Science. I love Low. I really like Seven to Eternity. So I'm just like, yay, it's got Rick Remender. I'm checking it out. I dig Bengal's art most of the time. There's some faces in this that verge on looking more like what I would see if I was watching anime with my kids, and that doesn't excite me. But but as a whole, the art's really great in this. I like the paneling. The cars in this look just awesome. And the main character's driving around in, if you're into cars, it looks super sexy and sleek and whatnot. I did not care for the story though.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I'm gonna have to read more of it. I think this wasn't a great hook issue. Yeah. But I'm interested enough to see what's going to go on with Glory for a while, so I'm probably going to stick with it. But I mean, I do agree that it was kind of.
I mean, to me, the most interesting part is this kind of random at the beginning. There's these dudes hanging out, closing a burger joint, and a customer shows up, and I don't know. I've worked fast food as a kid and a young adult. Nothing's worse than you're getting ready. You're doing your cleanup. The store isn't officially closed, and some customer comes in and wants to order a bunch of crazy stuff, and you've got half the store shut down already. This guy comes into this burger joint and wants 132 hamburgers. 132 hamburgers. And they're like, dude, I'll make you a couple, but 132, that's like, crazy. They've got dates to go on. They've got this and, whatever. And they basically don't want to do it. And the guy like throw him out. Basically, there's a customer there. It's a big, kind of, biker, punker looking kid, grabs hold of the guy, and they're going to throw him out. And he whips a liquid nitrogen gun out of his coat and starts freezing people. He freezes the face off of the kid, and his face literally falls off and shatters on the floor. And then he freezes and kills everybody else in the place and whatnot.
Cool. That was like,
sure, but and then that was,
I didn't understand what that had to do with much of anything,
Exactly.
And Glory's, I guess, kind of father figure is dying, so she needs to make money to help him out. And there's kind of like some sort of mafia type thing going on in town. That's
Yeah.
about all I gained from this issue, you know?
Right. Well, right, but she has this whole talking in her head about how they're off the grid. You're not off the grid if your garage is next door to everything else. I'm just telling you. I live out in the Northwest, and off the grid is you don't see other people. That's off the grid. But whatever. But she's got this whole internal dialogue of, on the open road by herself and whatnot. So, and when I read the solicitations for this, that was the big pitch. This, kind of everybody else is locked into, the modern whatever, and they're the last of this dying breed of whatever. Well, so I was expecting to get this book, and I was expecting people to be driving around in automated cars. I mean, I know we're all slave to our cell phones. And I get that, that's kind of a Rick thing that he's kind of obsessed with himself personally. This whole, we're all walking around. We can't get away from our cell phones and all of that. And so I get that's part of it. But this feels very toned down. I mean, this lifestyle she's living does not seem radical to me. You know?
I mean, other than he didn't have a social security number or something.
Well, I bet you he had a social security number at some point.
Yeah, it was silly. That part was really silly.
Right. And I didn't get, we get this whole she's working, we're having some of this internal dialogue about how she's this, they're this special breed of people, and she is working on their car. Is that her in the bathtub then? Is that the same character? I could not tell. There's one problem I was having with the art. I couldn't tell if this girl here, who I have to admit, I love the way she looks, is the same as this girl. I'm assuming it is because of that gun, right? Because this pistol that she's kind of freaking out about. Yeah. I mean, is she barfing because she's that upset by the pistol?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. That whole scene is all silent. There's no thought. There's no words. I don't know what that.
I'm guessing it was the story about the deaths at that fast food place. She hears about the mutilated with liquid nitrogen, and then
really. So you think that's what makes her?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it's. I think it has something to do with that.
Okay, so I'm looking at the comments, and Ryan still here. His comment, and he was saying that that he thinks that this is Remender's most grounded story that he's read so far, and that it made it kind of boring. But he's saying that he thinks it's because she knows what she's about to do, and she's freaking out about it, the robbery, and she's got herself. That makes sense. If that's the case, she's just so worked up about what the crazy thing she's about to do. That
true. I mean,
like I said,
or she knows the person with the liquid nitrogen. She knows that hearing that reminds her just how dangerous what she's about to do is, because obviously one is her ex-husband or something. So,
right. Yeah. The ex-husband is clearly guy tied into illegal activities. He's got lots of money. They're stealing millions of dollars, and trucks they're supposedly full of drugs, which by the end of it we find out aren't full of drugs. Well, like I said, Rick Remender's got a great way of attaching himself to really good artists that just really draw dynamic, exciting stuff. So kudos to that. I am not ordering anymore. Of course, you know how we order through Discount Comic Book Service. We're 1 or 2 months out in advance. When I do my order this month, I am not ordering the next issue of this, because this just did not hook me in any way. I figure if issue 2 blows my mind, I'll figure out how to pick up the issues I miss, somewhere, order them someplace else or whatever. But this was the least exciting of all the Remender books I've ever picked up. All the other Remender books, some aspect of it, if not immediately blew me away, made me go, And this one's just like, I'm not buying it. This whole supposed lifestyle they're living, I'm not buying it.
That part of it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because they still seem pretty normal, as far as like a small town,
Right. So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna give it a little more of a chance, because I do like Glory, certain aspects of her. So we'll see.
And it was a $4.99 book.
Yeah, that's pretty steep.
I mean, it was like I said, it was more pages, but we paid for those more pages. Whereas lots of the Image books, that first issue, we pay the regular price for. We get extra pages, kind of as a, feels like an incentive to get more story for the same price to see if we're still invested in it. So, yeah. So, yeah, not feeling it. Not feeling it. What else? What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I know you're reading this one, Dr.
Yes.
Star.
Yes, I am.
I love this book a lot.
Yes. Issue number 3. We get the whole kind of, oh, look, it's this version of the Green Lanterns, right? The Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, it's like the Black Hammer's Green Lanterns, I guess. Yeah. But I just love the story about this guy. I mean, it's really tragic that he just wanted to go help for like a minute, and then he ended up in the black hole, and
it wrecks his life.
All those years with his wife and son and everything, and then he comes back and they hate him. But yeah, and now he's like desperately trying to reconnect with his son, and he goes to the moon to contact those aliens again that he helped all those years ago.
Right. Because his son is dying of cancer. His son's terminal. I mean, he's on his last moments, basically. Yeah.
Right. And of course, he finds out that they can't help his son.
Right. So right. I mean, there's all this wonderful stuff. I mean, he has inspired a whole, basically, army of people to defend their universe and to do all this stuff and to be the better people, to be the righteous police and all this, everything basically the Green Lantern Corps, represents, right? And that would be a celebratory moment. Oh my gosh, look how one act I did influenced this wonderful thing. But you can't really celebrate that because it's like, no, I need I saw your race. They were healing people like lickety split. I need you to come and save my son. It's like, oh, we'd love to. We can't. It doesn't work. You aren't built like us, and we would just kill him faster, kind of thing. You're right. It's tragic is the word for it, because it's like, oh man, he could be celebrating this, but no, he just wants to save his son, and this isn't doing it. Yeah. I really like this spinoff. This spinoff feels like it has a real story. It's got its own well, even if it wasn't part of the Black Hammer universe, this stands on its own.
Oh, it does, definitely. And then, of course, at the end, I mean, he sees all these creatures and people who are calling him father. You know what I mean? And he desperately wanted to be a father for his son. So it's going to be interesting, like, how does he go forward with this,
Right.
Do they fill that hole that he has inside him? It seems like he's still reaching out to his son, even at the very end, telling him, all this stuff's happened, but he's still, hoping to connect with him before he dies. So, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be right back. I'm going to check on my dog.
Let's see. So I'm going to talk, because I know Jen doesn't have this book, because I don't know anybody who's picked up this book. This is Jazz Maynard. This is volume 2, issue number 4, Blood, Jazz, and Tears, part 2. I just randomly picked this up. I saw this in the solicitations. It's put out by I can't remember what they're called. It's a like a side imprint of Lion Forge. So I don't actually pick up anything from Lion Forge currently. This is the Magnetic Collection. And so the Magnetic Collection, my understanding is they take like European comics and then reprint them and translate them. This is actually a French comic that was put out in 2015. And of course, has been translated into English. So written by Raul and illustrated by Roger. And I love the illustrations. The illustrations remind me kind of like Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon. I mean, I think that's some of the coloring and the lighting and the way that that's done. It's not quite as characterized, but still is. My one grievance would be with the art is all the women are they're all incredibly hourglass shaped. They all are, buxom hippie women, and you'd think that somebody would be built a little different. But that would be my one pick as far as the art goes in it. The storyline, the best that I can get from the story, because like I said, I'm just jumping right in the middle of of an already ongoing story. It does have a previously, which gives me some idea of kind of what's happening. But basically, they're kind of like super spies. I don't know if they actually work for they work for the Iranian government, and they're trying to get back a stolen artifact that is called the Golden Eye. And the Golden Eye, they believe, is in Iceland, and it's being traded by other governments. We find out in the issue that that it looks like the Americans and possibly the French are doing some sort of wheeling and dealing with it. Jazz Maynard is one of these super spies, and he has a friend called Tio. Tio seems to be more of the kind of the straightforward, kind of a guy. He's trying to really do the business. He's supposed to be learning from Jazz Maynard, but Jazz kind of lets him kind of wander off by himself, and then Jazz kind of comes in afterwards and saves the day, and is kind of the slick, cool, suave sort of a character. So it's kind of like super spy, but also some thief stuff going on, because Jazz Maynard is also being courted by some other people who are in Iceland, who are super thieves who are trying to acquire the eye themselves, but they also deal in stealing art that can't just be sold on the open market, kind of a thing and whatnot. But I really enjoyed the issue. I actually intend on at least tracking down issues 1, 2, and 3 of this volume, and we'll continue with it going forward. Not a huge super spy, super thief kind of a thing, but I like the vibe of this. It does have some jazz references in it, which is cool considering the name of the character and whatnot. I mean, there's some lyrics and some song titles to some Chet Baker stuff in here, which is cool. I'm into jazz. I like all those aspects of it and whatnot. And like I said, it's exciting, and I do dig the art. I love the colors and the vibe of the art and whatnot. So I'll be checking it out for a while. I think it's cool. I'm happy with the check it out. The cover is a really stiff stock, kind of like what the Grass Kings has been, except it's a flat instead of a slick surface. But no, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. I was happy to have taken the risk on it, and look forward to checking out more of it for sure. Let's see. Trying to think what else I get that I know that chances are Jen is not reading. Stray Bullets continues to be an excellent book. Issue 34 of the Sunshine and Roses part. Tell the picture there. Crutch's brother makes a move on Annie. Doesn't really turn out very well and whatnot. This continue. They go back to Baltimore, which is the last place they should be because of Spanish Scott and all that kind of stuff. They actually engage with Spanish Scott, and there's all kinds of chaos ensues. Just a wonderful book about a bunch of really screwed up people making really poor choices most of the time, and it's just a lot of fun to watch the perpetual train wreck that Stray Bullets is. Just an amazing piece of work by David Latham and stuff that's stretched over the years like it has. And even knowing how some of this stuff ultimately ends, because this kind of hops around in time, it doesn't tell the whole thing in a straightforward linear fashion. It's still amazing to see these people's lives in different chunks of it going through the stuff that they're going through and whatnot. And so just continue to really dig that that book. So good stuff. And Jen's back.
Yeah, Stray Bullets is great.
Yes. So are you reading Stray Bullets?
Yes, I am.
Oh, awesome. I did not realize that, or I would have waited to talk about it. I figured you.
Okay.
How long have you been on Stray Bullets?
Since the beginning of Sunshine and Roses.
Oh, nice.
It's issue 1. So, yeah.
I always have kind of a hard time talking about it because it's hard to really.
I do too. I remember when we used to talk about it. I'm like, okay, Travis, you talk about it because.
Right. Well,
it's really, I don't know. There's a lot going on. Like, it's convoluted. I don't know.
But so good. And I just feel like, I mean, yeah, it's confusing to start out with. And even as somebody who reads it, I mean, I've read it I've picked up that big giant Uber Alice omnibus. And so I've read it all. So I've read everything that's been done by it. And there's still times that I'm like, wait, what's going on where? You know, kind of a thing. But that's not a bad thing. And I'm always like, people just need to get on the book. You get on it and you get into a few issues, you're going to start getting invested in these characters, even the awful ones, even the ones that you just, they're awful human beings. You still kind of want to see what they're going to get into, what's Orson up to, or is it Derek, or is, just all the different aspects of it. Yeah, good stuff. Alrighty. What else you want to talk about?
I think I only have one more book.
Okay.
I got Dark Ark by Colin.
Oh, nice. I haven't been reading that.
And in this issue, when we kind of find out about how, I guess, Satan's Ark, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then also we're sending some demons to help Noah out, because in the last issue the angels came to help Noah, but they found the Dark Ark instead of Noah. So now they're going over there to try to help Noah out because they don't want anyone to figure out that they exist, basically, because if the angels came down to Noah, then they're going to know something's up, right? So they send these demons to go over and find out what's up with Noah's Ark and why he's like desperately praying for help. And the reason why he's been desperately calling for help is because there's like this Cthulhu-like monster underneath the water that is gonna kill them, basically. So got a couple of giraffes right there as sacrifices, I guess, to please the gods, I suppose. And so yeah, so the demons are gonna have to take care of that sort of Cthulhu-like monster next issue. So it's a fun read. I'm enjoying it. It's sometimes it doesn't like not a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot more art than story. But
I love the idea of that. So when the angels showed up at the Dark Ark, they thought they were helping the Ark.
Well, they showed up on the Dark Ark and they thought they were speaking to Noah. And they're basically asking him, "What do you need?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't need anything. I was just praying."
That's awesome. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then and they're like, "You were pretty desperate for help, And I'm like, "Oh, well, I was he's trying to play it off." Right. Because he's got like all these, there's vampires and all kinds of demons and all this kind of stuff on his ark that he's trying to get to the new world,
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty fun. I like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. That's cool. Let's see. Recommended book I am still enjoying. Black Science. This is issue number 35. There are 7 more issues left, and this is done. Black Science is over.
See, I think I'm going to get it, like all collected or something. I
Sure.
missed out on jumping on that.
Yeah. And this issue is kind of fun. A year has between the last issue and this issue, a year has passed basically. Grant and his ex-wife, the original Grant, the original scientist, and an ex-wife from one of the dimensions have basically ran off. They're trying to find their kids. They were thrown. Their universe was thrown into the null world where there is no universes, kind of thing, supposedly. they've been just wandering, trying to find them. They've stopped at this place where it's a base for couples counseling of sorts. And they know who they are. They know who Grant is. They know who Grant's ex-wife is. They know a lot about him because they've ran into other versions of him. And they're trying to talk them basically into, look, don't keep looking for your kids. Your kids are dead. That null place doesn't exist. If you get shot to there, you're annihilated because it's a place of non-existence. If something goes there, it's destroyed. And they're like, no, we got to look for our kids. And they're like, look, no, you don't. They do all this crazy, have this conversation and whatnot. The woman convinces the ex-wife to go to this other dimension to see something. She goes there and she sees what her life might have been like if she had lived it differently, if she had not gotten married to Grant, if she had pursued her acting career and all this different stuff. And, kind of like to tease her into thinking, look, you could go live some other life. You don't have to keep doing this dimension hopping thing and whatnot. And the woman convinces her to put down, she has this like portable dimension hopping device. She goes to put it down. As soon as he puts it down, they snatch it away from her. And the woman runs out of the room. They seal the room off. And these people, and this version of Grant and his ex-wife get dumped off the spaceship to their deaths. Oh. And it's like, then we find out at the end of the story, we're just trying to get rid of all the Grants and his ex-wives we can, because they're just destroying all the multiverses. And we're just trying to kill. If we can kill every Grant, maybe this whole thing will stop, is basically what they've decided. And by the end of the book, she's, the computer or someone's talking to her on the computer is reminding her that, look, this is going to make everything better. I know it's hard. And she's like, whatever, I'm over it. When's the next one coming? And they're like, they're already here. And she's literally picking up a new file and walking through the door. And there's two more. There's another Grant and another ex-wife. They look a little bit different, but basically the same people. And she starts the exact same conversation with them. So I don't know. You could say this was a filler issue, but at the same time, it just sets up how desperate everything is getting in the story and whatnot. And I continue to like it for that. I mean, like I said, you could say as far as the whole plot moving forward, the needle didn't go anywhere. But I think it does. I think it's implying just how bad things have gotten, that there are other people who are actively. And this woman is supposedly their kid if they had had sex on a different day and had her instead of the other children that we've known since the beginning of the book. Oh, so she's killing her own parents from other dimensions, basically, supposedly. So fun stuff. Or at least I think it's fun stuff. Sex Criminals, issue 24, slowly crawling along, slowly the same sort of thing and whatnot. By the end of this issue, it's like everybody who's ever been in the book and has complicated Susie and John's relationship are all at a roller skating rink. They've all been invited to the same place for some reason, and they don't know exactly why. And when I say everybody, even the sex police, the people they've been fighting for, 10 issues are even at this place. So it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen. I continue to like the book. It continues to have these really kind of, as childish as the back matter tends to be in the book, the letters pages and all the silliness that goes on there and the way that Chip Stardowski and Matt Fraction answer the stuff that's there largely. There's just funnier than hell stuff that goes on in the comic and legitimately serious stuff that just feels like this is like real life. This is how relationships work, because they're all, it's all awkward. Because you don't know anybody else really, even when you think you know, there's just all this kind of weird, awkward stuff. And I like those things. And that's what keeps me reading the book, despite the other stuff that isn't always to my taste. There's other stuff that I find really funny. There's one moment in here where there's two characters who basically both come out of the closet, these two guys, and they have a romantic moment at the end of a couple pages of them talking about, if you live this, I was living this kind of fake life. I was acting like I was this other person who was, confident and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I realized after a couple years of living this acting life that, what? That's actually me. I can actually be that, so you get this kind of great moment of them realizing that they could be these better people, and they have this romantic moment where they're kissing and whatnot. And parked behind them is a fireworks truck, and it's on the nose fireworks is the truck. And I just think it's hilarious because they had this whole romantic thing and they kiss, and that would be the moment like when the cheesy movie, right, where the fireworks would be going off and stuff. And instead it's a truck with the, and the truck works for on the nose fire. I don't know. That kind of stuff to me, I laugh my ass off over that stuff because it's kind of punny, stupid, but but cute and fun at the same time. So, I like that. So I keep hanging around. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? I have to talk about Gravediggers Union just because I continue to really, really love the art in it. The Toby Cypress art with colors by Gawarda are just really, really cool. Gravediggers Union, basically, the Gravediggers are like a secret society, like a secret army that fights back the occult, while the rest of us don't know what's going on and whatnot. The apocalypse is basically on the verge of happening in the book. The Gravediggers are kind of gone rogue to some degree, this group of them, to try and stop this, because we find out our main character, Gravedigger, his daughter has become a witch, which witches are evil as far as the Gravediggers are concerned. And she is the key to unleashing the apocalypse. And she seems to be going along with it. They're going to kill this, what they call a space monkey, that they've found, this white monkey that seems uber intelligent and is actually from someplace in the future or some other place, or way from the past. I haven't figured out that aspect of it exactly. And she is going to kill this space monkey, and it's going to open up the rift completely, and the elder gods are going to come pouring in and kill everybody. And hopefully the cults that are creating the apocalypse, hopefully if they do evil right well enough, that they will have a place, stereotypical place in hell afterwards. But in this issue, it's a giant war. The Gravediggers show up, a whole bunch of them, to fight this big fight. And they're kind of at a stalemate in the issue. But like I said, I continue to really love the art. For me, visually, this book, I don't know, I just love the way it looks. It's just got crazy coloring, insane, characters, and some of it's just really silent. It's just all visual storytelling, and it's like the images and the coloring and the style of Toby Cypress uses and whatnot. So this is issue 6. I think this is the end of the arc. I think the trade comes out like I want to say like in a couple weeks is how they've got it set up to be, which is really fast, all things considered. But yeah, I really like it. I like it a lot. I would assume there's going to be more. It ends on kind of a cliffhanger. There's a character death in it, and the apocalypse gets stalled, but I don't know, is it going to keep, is that the end of the apocalypse part of it? He still has to deal with his daughter and some of that stuff. So another book that's been going on a long time. I have not heard of anything about it that it's going to end, but of course it's got to end at some point because slowly the apocalypse is happening in East and West too. Issue 37. This issue for me, we get these issues every once in a while. They're kind of slow. We get 2 or 3 slow issues that build something, and then all of a sudden things just cut loose again. This issue is all about a bounty hunter that has been pretty well wrecked in earlier issues, and it's him kind of surviving that and putting himself back together again and moving forward with who he's going to go after next, kind of a thing. So not my favorite issue, and because I don't know, the last like 10 issues have just been absolutely on fire. As far as stuff that's been going on. So it's kind of weird to get this issue that's kind of, I'm not sure why we needed all this other information, we needed this information about what he's doing, because from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, in some other issues could have been told in 2 pages, whereas we get a full comic about that stuff. So, not to sound critical of it, I really love this series, but this issue is kind of like, okay, and what? So, and finally this week, Coming to Me, issue number 2, Black Mask, supposedly body horror. To me, this isn't horror. This is science fiction. And I liked issue 2 better than issue 1 because now it's starting to get really intriguing. In our first issue, it ended with the premise is this guy has come up with a way to swap bodies. So it's the ultimate experience of experiencing somebody else, experiencing what it'd be like to be somebody else. You can literally swap minds. So you get to ride around in somebody else's body or in somebody else's head for a period of time. It ends with a woman has transferred herself. She's gotten herself transferred into the creator of this device, or at least he's like the lead financer and the partial creator of it. And after she's gotten herself transferred into his body, so she's in the same body with him, her body has died. She has died of cancer. She knew it was coming and she kind of tricked him to get it. So now she is literally riding around in his head, walking through his memories, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to figure out, can they create a biological computer to dump her into? Should they just throw her back in her body and let her be dead? But they don't really want a death on their hands because they need more money, more sponsors so they can go on. So this isn't going to work. And she keeps occasionally taking control over his body, and she talks through him and makes him do stuff that maybe he wouldn't do. Or say things that he wouldn't do. She keeps pushing him to like sell this thing as being the ultimate experience. Do you really want to know, do you really want to get to know somebody? This is how you get to know somebody. Literally be them, be in them, be with them, not just physically, but the ultimate. And that's interesting. And they kind of are starting to play with that. What would that be like? What does that feel like? And his experience, when she starts to take over, he feels like he's drowning. I mean, they show panels of him suddenly in a place where the water fills up over top of him and he's like choking as she's pushing herself to the front. So I'm liking it. I'm intrigued by it. The Kowalski art, I really like quite a bit. That's the real reason I picked it up. But like I said, to me, it's sci-fi. It's not body horror unless you're wigged out by the idea of somebody else possessing you in some sense. Then I guess maybe it's horror, but it's not body horror like as in, oh no, you got infected with something, you're turned into a mutant, or that sort of thing, which I envision body horror being. Or maybe I need to look up the official definition of what body horror is. But I am liking it though. It was an interesting issue, intriguing idea as she's slowly starting to talk to people and changing people's opinion of him, because he's a very much an introvert and is very kind of the kind of cold intellect. And she's like, they meet his sister and his baby nephew, and she takes over and she's like, oh, he's so cute, and acting 100% like he wouldn't, and stuff. And it's just kind of interesting to see people respond to that and how she's slowly changing people's views of him, which is all intriguing.
I think I'm going to jump on that.
Yeah. Anyway, and that's my books this week. I don't know of any indie news. I don't know. Oh, other than I know at the end of Sex Criminals, Matt in the back matter was saying, Matt Fraction was saying that him and Chip are working on a pilot for Sex Criminals to be a TV show. I don't know how I feel about that. I would think they're the only guys that could do it. If it was going to actually happen, I just have a hard time conceiving of it really happening. Then it may have been floated once before. I think I had a conversation before about that. It was floated once before, but they're actually working on it now. They're actually literally putting something on paper. So I don't know. Doesn't mean we'll actually see it, but. Anything else? I can't think of anything else.
Nope, I can't think of anything.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for this week then. Thanks for coming and talking books to me.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So next week we'll talk about this week's books.
Yay!
Well,
have more time to read them.
Yes. At any rate, thank you everybody for watching. You mothers out there, you included, Jen. Rez, if you're out there somewhere, happy Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Tomorrow. Yes. And we'll see everybody next week and we'll do it again. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye-bye.